Welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show that looks at the highs and the lows from around world football this season, I guess, this week.
Nostalgic.
Yeah. Chris Hamill is sat in the hot seat, and we are starting with Manchester City. This one was sent in by Jake Lynham. It's both our first winner and the talking point, really, this week,
It
isn't
is. We've combined them. It's going to be ever so juicy. Yes, Manchester City beat Brighton 4-1 away to become the first team to retain the Premier League. Well done, Pep. Since Manchester United 10 years ago now in 2008-9. Worth mentioning, they did win it 3 times on the bounce as well. Can he emulate that next season? There is the challenge. That's what keeps him stimulated. Glenn Murray, you know, set about ruining City's day, though, didn't he? And he gave Liverpool fans temporary hope when he netted his 13th goal of the season from a pretty good set piece. Near post, no one really marking him, although he did lose I think it was Laporte from a corner at the other end a bit later on.
That was so bad.
Yeah, a shocking state of affairs. Murray is actually responsible for 36% of Brighton's overall Premier League goals. That's 25 of 69.
Oh, and we may as well say, by the way, Houghton's got the chop this morning.
Yeah. Do you think that's fair? Let us know in the comments below, but we'll save that conversation for another day. If anything, like Sean Goater said on the stream, benefited City actually going behind because it kicked them into gear because it was a sluggish start from the citizens, wasn't it? So 83 seconds later, before Laporte headed home his 3rd league goal of the season to edge them in front. All of Laporte's goals have come away from home. They've all been headers and all were either match-winning goals or equalisers. So he's coming up with the goods when necessary.
He's also
big game player.
He's also played the most outfield minutes of any player at Manchester City this season.
Yeah, I mean, there was a 6-month betting in process, but
Yeah.
he's become their most important centre-half, hasn't he?
By far.
And people have been rotated around Laporte. And you look at the calibre of player, Company and John Stones, and it gives you an indication of just how highly Pep rates the, I was going to say Spaniard, but it's Frenchman, isn't it? He can play for either or. I don't know if he's committed to one, has he?
He's not capped, I don't think, by France, but he's definitely French.
Insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I think he actually can get into Spain through his Basque heritage. Anyway, again, a conversation for another time. Riyad Mahrez was handed just his 14th start in this game and his first start in 5 games. Kind of been frozen out since he started moaning about minutes. But he dummy dunked and struck the 3rd goal to calm any nerves, didn't he? Before Gundogan. Oh my goodness.
Didn't realise he had it in him.
One of the most improved players towards the end of the season. I'd say even the second half of the season, because City fans were getting on him at first, just for not being as good as their other midfield options.
And he's probably still going to leave.
But he does a bloody job. Yeah, he might still leave. But what a superb free kick that was, taking his goal contributions to 24 in 43 appearances as a central midfielder who often plugs the gap defensively when Fernandinho's not available. Impossible to pick a man of the match in this game. So David Silva got 2 assists from 3 key passes. That is being decisive, isn't it? Which included making his 18th assist to Aguero in the Premier League. What a deadly combination they are. Mahrez got a goal and an assist. But I think I'm probably going to give it to Gundogan.
Yeah. Okay.
I said impossible, but I've only gone and bloody done it, Joseph. So 174 passes, 94.3% pass accuracy, 4 accurate long balls, and that absolute sumptuous free kick.
Yeah, Manchester City obviously delighted. Let's talk quickly about Liverpool as well, because I think they'll still be delighted. You know, Liverpool fans at home will be going, oh, you know, this is still our best ever season in the Premier League. So there's loads of positives you can take from it. 97 points this season. Incredible effort, even to maintain pace with this Manchester City team, who have been utterly ridiculous across the course of 2 seasons. I think probably the greatest team I've ever seen play in the Premier League. 198 points across 2 seasons. They've scored over 200 goals and lost 6 games. Frightening stuff. If they become the first side ever to win an English domestic treble, then that just nails them on, in my opinion. But for Liverpool, still a little bit gutted. This points tally would have won them the league in 117 of the 119 professional English seasons. The only times it wouldn't have is this season and last season, and Pep Guardiola. So they can feel rightfully disheartened. They're also the only side in Premier League history to lose just 1 game and not win the title. That previous record also held by Liverpool in 2008-2009.
Well then.
They maintained course as the only team in Premier League history to be top at Christmas and not win a Premier League title. That also happened, I think, in 2008-09 and another time as well. Not bottled it, because they finished on 97 points, but did blow, what was it, a 10-point lead at one stage? 7-point lead, something like that. So I think they'll be a little bit annoyed, a little bit delighted at how the season's gone. Just a bag full of mixed emotions, really, either way. I guess the question is, do you think they can win the Premier League title next season, Hamill?
I think you're right in that. Let's not distract ourselves from the progress they've made. They were still battling for Champions League football on the last day of last season, weren't they? So to finish second so convincingly is a quantum leap forward in terms of progression. If they win the Champions League final, that will know that and end that sort of Klopp's perpetual bottler in finals narrative. Then the whole of football wins, don't they? It will come down to those fine margins next season, and I think it's more important that Liverpool go out and recruit really well than Manchester City. But I suppose the frightening thing for Liverpool is the players that City have already been linked with. If they went out and got De Ligt, if they added Bruno Fernandes to their midfield options, I think that they both only need one or two signings. But it's maybe who can clinch, the better talent. It's that sort of narrow, isn't it?
Yeah, for me, I think it will be Man City again. I just don't see them having any drop-off. I don't see them losing any more than 4 or 5 games next season. Whereas for Liverpool, there's nothing there for me that I see them only losing once.
Yeah.
I think they'll probably drop about 6-7 points comparatively to this tally, which is still an amazing feat, 89, 90 points. But then I don't see Man City going anywhere near less than 92.
Well, say Dortmund win the league. Bayern fans can feel a little bit aggrieved because Bayern's underlying numbers are better.
Yeah.
They should be all, they should be top by all intents and purposes. However, Manchester City's numbers are still better than Liverpool's.
Yeah.
So I suppose the disheartening thing is the underlying numbers suggest that Manchester City, they've not even got the rub of the green.
Yeah.
They're exactly where they should be.
Yeah.
It is relentless, isn't it? But one thing is for sure. I think it is going to be those two competing for the title.
Definitely. Everyone else is miles away.
Look at the way the other teams finished. Kind of very, indicative of their seasons. Who do you think is going to win the league, guys, next season? I'm very early to be doing a poll on that, but just your gut feeling right now. Let us know. Before we move on to our next section, then make sure you're subscribed by clicking the button up there, as demonstrated on screen, and the ickle bell, because that turns on notifications, and you'll never miss a Football Daily moment. Just want to say, Tomlinson, before we get stuck into the next section that comes from Tom P. Chappell, that Football Daily have officially not done a Manchester United title in around 11 videos. Can you hear the applause through the screen? All right, so the grief we're getting at the moment for being Man United centric, not warranted. But we are going to talk about Manchester United because they lost to Cardiff and it was embarrassing. And let's all, mock Joe.
Yeah, just heap misery on me. Why not? Do you know what? I just don't care anymore. It's just, I actually am just totally apathetic towards this show of a club. Just disgusting performance after disgusting performance. The players should be ashamed of themselves. The staff should be ashamed of themselves. Everybody's heard this same shit week in, week out for about the past 5 years. I'm tired of it. Either way, yes, we did. We lost 2-0 at home to relegated Cardiff, obviously ending a disastrous season. I'm delighted this season's over. And I can't wait for next season where it's arguably going to be even worse. Good luck bleeping that one. Obviously, that was our, I think, 9th loss in 10 games, something like that. We have won just 1 of our previous 6 going into this one. Absolutely torrid, scored just 3 goals from open play since the start of April. Yeah, we should have beaten them. 73% possession, 26 shots, whatever, 10 shots on target. Don't give a f***. The players were walking at the end of it, walking around the pitch. Absolutely embarrassing. David De Gea has kept the least clean sheets of any goalkeeper in the league at home.
Wow.
That is nothing short of a disgrace when you pitch us against the other top 6 sides' home records, which are all impeccable, really. Even Tottenham, who have been shambolic between 2 different stadiums off the pitch, on it, have been decent. At home, at Old Trafford, we're a embarrassment to the shirt. I just can't be arsed with it anymore. You can talk, Camel. It's just...
Well, yeah, I mean, you've not even got... When Ollie came in, obviously had that incredible record, that incredible turnaround. 14 victories from his first 20 games, undefeated in his first 20. I mean, the biggest positive of that run, results aside, was the fact that there seemed to be a harmony in the squad yet again. There was a positive outlook. The atmosphere was back at Old Trafford. And come the end of the season, you're still in 6th, but the biggest problem is the club is back in that negative mindset as a whole. You are now heading into the summer with, Paul Pogba talking, pleading with the fans not to get on his back at the end of the game.
I feel so sorry for Paul. You know what, Pogba? I'll back you to go to Madrid now. Go and have a good time in Madrid. I hope you do, and I hope you further your career and have fun over there, because quite frankly, the treatment of Paul Pogba has been embarrassing by both the media and by Manchester United fans, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you agree with Joe? Do you agree with, the fact that Paul Pogba should leave for Real Madrid? Have you got anything to say on his treatment? Let us know, as always, in the comments below, and the big man will get back to you when this goes live. But this really amplifies this result, the need for renewal at Old Trafford, doesn't it? So the loss meant that they finished 32 points off the champions, 32 more than when they were relegated in 1974.
Here you go,
Did you used to get 2 points for victory back then in 74? Probably, so slightly misleading stats.
32 points off the title winners, Man City. 32 points off Cardiff in the relegation zone. The epitome of mid-table. Absolutely.
It's also the first time they've lost at home by 2+ goals to a promoted side since they did so against Nottingham Forest in 1977. Obviously, bidding farewell to Herrera as well. That's caused a bit of a in the build-up to the game. The fact that he didn't get a send-off. There's been mixed emotions, mixed reactions to that. Antonio Valencia, who's probably served the club better, in my opinion, bidding farewell as well. We know the squad needs an overhaul. Joe's gone over the names time and time again. We've rebuilt Manchester United on the podcast, so I'm not going to bore you with that. Let's talk about Mason Greenwood, though, because he was the one positive glimmer of hope in this destitute game. He became the youngest ever United player to start a Premier League game at 17 years and 223 days, and he put in an excellent display. So 76 touches, more than anyone on the pitch by Lingard and Pogba. 7 shots, 4 on target with 3 key passes as well. So a really strong creative force. 3 dribbles, 3 tackles, putting the effort in, which, Joe maligned all the other players for not necessarily doing. And he ended the day with an XG of 0.8.
The only bright spot, and you know what?
So very unfortunate not to get a goal, basically.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely should have scored. He had some great chances, but 17 years old, stepping into a side that's just total show.
Out of the frying pan into the fire.
I mean, to say Mason Greenwood is the best player in your team at the moment is embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, to notice that he's putting visibly more effort than professionals that he should be taking, a nod from. A little bit worrying. So United finished 6th for the second time in 3 years. And massive question marks remain over that squad in the summer. Huge overhaul needed, not necessarily built themselves that platform, which I'm sure they thought would happen, giving Solskjaer the job on a permanent basis to progress next season. Big problems. Neil Warnock, however, has said he will stay on for another season at Cardiff. So, who's winning there? Football. Football in general.
Moving on to our final winner, it's Newcastle. This was submitted by Master Contender.
Yeah, I don't know how Rafa Benitez keeps doing this season after season, especially given the talent or the lack of it in that Newcastle team. Salomon Rondon, I like him. He puts himself about. Physical specimen. He's Venezuelan. The most satisfying country to say. But he was relegated last season and he was Newcastle's Player of the Year this season. I mean, not unheard of, but come on. Rafa deserves better. He deserves some money. Get to Celtic. I mean, you'll get one of those two things. It's not money. But in this game, Shelby netted an absolute blinder, didn't he? Jose Perez scored his 6th in 5 games. Newcastle finished the season on 45 points, one more than last season.
Progression!
And Fabian Schär's been a big part of that, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's been some find this campaign. He scored in the second half, as did Salomon Rondon, to give Newcastle just their 4th away win of the season, demonstrating how good their home form has been, but in particular how good their defence has been at home. So they haven't scored more than 2 goals in an away game prior to this all campaign, but they were very good value here. A hapless Fulham. A Fulham had a slight renaissance when Scott Parker was employed, back to their very worst in this game. So Newcastle put 6 shots on target, allowing a toothless Fulham only 2 in return. So between them, Perez and Rondon have scored 55% of Newcastle's goals, with only the bottom side scoring fewer than Rafa Benitez's side's 42. In fact, games involving Newcastle this season have seen an average of just 2.4 goals per Premier League game, the lowest of any Premier League team this season. But that means that only 6 teams have conceded fewer than Newcastle's 48, with Arsenal allowing 3 more and Manchester United letting in 6 more.
Brilliant. Absolutely class. I mean, the only team worse defensively than Manchester United is Fulham. No, Huddersfield as well, I suppose. Like, realistically,
I mean,
on paper.
statistically, you're very mid-table. Brighton and Hove Albion's defence is actually better than yours.
Yeah, it's class, isn't it? It is class.
So just go and buy Duffy and Dunk.
But anyway, let's talk about Fulham, because they have conceded 81 goals this season. Absolutely humiliating, at an average of 2.1 per game. The only team that has allowed more in a Premier League campaign in history was Fulham back in 2013-14. That season they conceded 85. They also have a real problem scoring goals, so just a total really. The only side to have scored fewer this season is Huddersfield. Mitrovic, though, has got 41% of Fulham's goals this season. That squad is going to get picked apart at the bones. It really is.
Newcastle should re-sign him, shouldn't they?
I can't see Sessegnon being there. Mitrovic is not going to be there. I'd be surprised if Jean-Michel Seri going to be there. Schürrle's definitely not going to be there. Yeah, I mean, that squad is just going to get decimated. It's going to get absolutely decimated. Tom Kearney probably not going to be there.
You could argue that a lot of those players probably aren't best suited to the Championship as well, so it's not going to be the biggest loss.
No. Like Sessegnon and Kearney probably are big losses for a side like Fulham, but yeah, Jean-Michel Seri is never going to play down there, is it?
I think there's a chance they'll stay.
I'm unconvinced. Either way, let's talk a little bit about Mitrovic, because he joined, of course, for £18 million from Newcastle as part of that £100 million squad overhaul that they put in place. But it does look like he's going to depart. Southampton heavily linked with him so far, to the tune of about £30 million. So they would be making £12 million on him, but I think he'd be a good signing for Southampton, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't strike me as the most Hassan Hüttl sort of player. It doesn't strike me as someone that's going to be a press trigger, press from the front. Might partner well with Danny Ings. Depends if they're going to go like 4-4-2, I guess.
Yeah, either way, Scott Parker, I believe, has been confirmed now as the permanent manager. So he'll be pretty keen to have a summer clean out. I'd imagine the names we just mentioned will all leave. Either way, Fulham, just a total of a season.
Watford then are final losers of the winners and losers season. And this comes from Zach Kingdom, who regularly contributes to our Reddit page, I believe. If you're not a member of our Reddit community, then you're missing out, because there's some top quality memes and general banter on the page. Go over there and check it out. Watford.
Yes, Watford, not a good weekend, not good preparation for an FA Cup final against Manchester City. Next weekend, they completely fell apart, 4-1 at home as well to West Ham United. West Ham actually found themselves 2 goals up at half-time after a Lionel Messi-esque effort from Mark Noble. One sentence I never thought I would say. And Manuel Lanzini's first goal of the season. Good to see him back and firing. The second half started chaos. Gerard Deulofeu scored straight away, then suddenly Holebas sent off, banned for the FA Cup final.
Such a harsh sending off as well.
I mean, it was Javi Gracia after the game, not a happy bunny. Listen to this.
What can I say? If you say that contact is enough to to decide a fault and after the red card you miss the final. It's a referee's decision. I prefer don't say anything else.
Either way, Watford might feel a little bit hard done by. I think the scoreline definitely flattered West Ham. 17 shots to Watford, 16 shots to West Ham, 2.4 to 2.8 on expected goals. A quite even affair with a total lack of defence on show. So a flattering scoreline. And also Watford might be a little bit disappointed. You know, we're talking about them in the race for 7th. They've ended up finishing 11th. West Ham leapfrogging them into 10th with this win. I feel like they're a little bit too reliant creatively on Gerard Deulofeu. I think they need to recruit smartly in the summer, but please beat Manchester City on the weekend. Please beat them. Just can't have them being the first team to win a domestic treble in the same season Liverpool win the Champions League and the same season Leeds get promoted and Arsenal win the Europa League. I might melt.
Just a little ginger puddle on the floor. Just disappears. Just the Supreme logo left on the floor. Just gone. Anyway, you thought this game was meaningless, but like Joe said, it was the battle for who finished in the top half of the table. There was a lot riding on it in terms of pride, and it is a shame that Watford and Gracia's efforts haven't been rewarded with a top half finish, because a little bit like Rafa Benitez, the talent deficit in that squad, in comparison to Wolves, Leicester,
West
even
Ham.
the signings that West Ham have made, they spent 40 million on Felipe Anderson, would dictate that they are heavily punching above their weight, and an FA Cup win I think would be extremely deserved of Gracia's kind of efforts this season. Anyway, let's get back into this game. West Ham leapfrog their opponents, finished 10th. Joe's already said that, finished 5 points off Wolves. And you think about how good a season Wolves have had. Yeah. West Ham really finishing strongly. So that's their best place finish since 7th in 2016. West Ham. And the Hammers ended with 3 wins in a row, scoring 18, conceding just 1. A far cry from their 4 consecutive defeats to open the campaign, which also included a couple of drubbings as well, didn't it?
Yeah,
most notably Liverpool, who beat West Ham 4-0, 4 games on the bounce at one point. Man of the match was Mikel Antonio, who's had a decent end to the Premier League campaign, despite being one of the most unorthodox footballers I've ever seen. And that is putting it nicely. He finished the game with 7 dribbles, 2 key passes, 4 aerial duels won, 4 shots on target and 1 assist, as well as hitting the bar and winning a penalty. He was an absolute machine in this game.
He loves thumping the crossbar, doesn't he? He always hits the bar.
He loves the beans on toast, but numbers-wise, can't knock him in this game. And shout out to Mark Noble. 2 shots, 2 goals, a pass completion of 97%. That's 67 out of 68 passes, if you wanted to know. Very specific. 2 dribbles and 2 interceptions to boot on the defensive end as well. All in all, not a bad debut season for Manuel Pellegrini. Although when he came in, we were, insistent this was a real coup for West Ham. His credentials are probably better. They warrant a better side than West Ham. But they finally got someone who kind of matches the owner's ambitions, I guess, which is becoming a club that qualifies for European competition regularly. I do think Pellegrini, with a couple more additions, could maybe take them to Europa League football, maybe. But Wolves are going to make some big moves as well in the summer, aren't they? Okay, so he has a win percentage of 39%. That's the highest overall of any West Ham manager since Alan Pardew. Since Pards, man like Pards. And as for Watford, we wish them the best in the FA Cup final.
Please win.
Yeah, deserve it.
Please.
Troy Deeney lifting the cup as Vincent Company watches on.
That's what everybody
That's what
wants to
football wants to see.
So that's it for this episode of Winners and Losers. Hope you enjoyed. Before you do anything else, make sure you head over to EFD because they've got Era Roundup coming up. What's happening on there?
We're discussing Roma versus Juventus. We're discussing the race for the Bully title because it's going down to the wire, Joseph. And we're also going to touch upon Ajax and how their team is probably going to be picked apart next campaign.
Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye.